I think rubble.
Oh, my autistic brain brought back a thought. I was trying to yell at Connor when he told me to stop. The crack babies thing. We have a law that's non-drug related that applies to that, and it's called child endangerment.
No, and we don't apply it.
I don't think we should be sending. Okay, you guys. I feel like you're way too willing to use prison and jail as solutions here.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying in prison the crack mom. I'm saying you put her in the stocks in the public square and you throw eggs, lettuce, and tomatoes at her.
True.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, but
Also,
would you rather?
hold on.
Would you rather have that, or would you rather sit in a cell?
Neither.
I mean, she might need rehabilitation, but at the same time, she doesn't need a prison. But she does need to be made aware in some way that what she was doing was wrong and harmful to the baby. That's overcrossing the boundary that, like, I would think, right? Earlier when I said, hey, it's a personal liberty thing, right? If you want to go fucking play Darwin, roulette with, drug use, like, that's on you. But the second you bring another person into play where you're directly harming another person, and by say a pregnant mom doing that while she's pregnant, that's now harming another person. So that's where that line is.
These are people, and that's a horrible mistake to make. Come on, I mean,
they're not born yet, but I'm just saying.
I think we need to have some empathy here and some sympathy for people in. What do you mean, no?
No. Part of the reason why I left law enforcement because of a fucking child killed by the drug addiction of their parents. That person has suffered no consequence. So no. And here's the thing, I don't give a fuck. Like seriously. So if this is cutting personal, it's because it's personal. Okay, that's why it feels personal. All right. So here's the thing. There are some things that I am not willing to accept. And basically, pregnant people doing hard drugs that fucking kills their kids is not one of them. So the reason why I brought up...
What about abortion, intentionally getting rid of... Well, you should kill their kids.
I'm not okay with falling down a fucking pitfall on this one. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking.
I have to call it the dissertation I have to call you on.
Pisco. I'm a little fucking triggered right now. So I'm just going to try to tell you what I think. And we can fucking... If you want to go in a rabbit hole after that, that's fine. Here's my fucking thing. I, and the people that I work with, the people that I used to work with, don't think that's acceptable on any fucking level. As a matter of fact, jail time is not a sufficient punishment for what occurred. And while there are people who are in the rarefied fucking atmosphere who never have to see a child basically take their last breath on earth after only being born for a fucking month and a half, and you have that luxury, and everybody in this room has that fucking luxury. I've seen it. It's not acceptable to me. And on top of that, jail is not a sufficient punishment for this crime.
So what? Go
ahead.
So I want to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is the negligent and reckless killing, you said, of, quote, their child.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's worse than the intentional killing of the unborn?
Okay, so if you want my abortion take at 8...
Wait.
You just cut out.
I'm giving you my answer.
You cut out. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, so far.
Okay. The central nervous system kicks online at fucking 8. I think an abortion under 18 weeks is basically morally neutral. I think after 18 weeks, if there's a great threat to the mom or to the fetus, then an abortion is acceptable and should remain legal. If, however, after 18 weeks, somebody aborts a fucking fetus that is viable and the mother has no known health complications that are going to complicate the pregnancy besides the pregnancy itself, I would view that as infanticide.
They should go to jail for the rest of their life.
Maybe not the rest of their life, but yeah, they should definitely serve a...
Okay, and so you would, before 8 months, if you're a crack addict smoking crack, no consequences, right?
If it's 18 weeks, is what I said.
Before 18 weeks.
Yeah,
So
I said 18 weeks. Yeah, if you miscarry and before 18 weeks, then yeah, whatever.
Okay, so after 18 weeks, if you have an abortion, that's in your world, that's infanticide. These people, prison isn't a good enough punishment for them, presumably, and they should be killed.
No.
You said prison wasn't a good enough punishment for them, so I have
sure on a moral level.
You're talking about.
Yeah, but okay, on a moral level, okay, moral. So just good or bad, what I feel, my feels argument. Okay?
You're no utilitarian. Don't say you're utilitarian. I think you're doing a disservice to the word and to the term. You're not maximizing. You're doing what feels good, and you have a retributive urge in you that I don't know why you're expressing in this way. but akin people who have abortions after a certain amount of time with murderers that don't deserve prison in the meaning that they deserve as a moral matter capital punishment, I think is a disgusting, reprehensible statement. You should be thoroughly ashamed that you made it.
Oof.
Okay, that's
Connor,
weird.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
In that instance, are you more along the thought or the feel line of like life for a life?
No, Jesus.
Oh
fucking
no.
Christ.
No. I'm not. I was just trying to get clarification.
Okay. So let me clarify. What I feel is not the social prescription. So just because individually I feel that the mother who killed her child by doing fucking crack cocaine dropped off her child at her grandparents' fucking house. That child lived for a month and a half in absolute agony and then fucking died. Just because I feel like prison is not good enough for that doesn't mean that shouldn't be the social prescription. And Pisco, this is where you and I completely fucking disagree on utilitarian fucking ethics. And I don't give a fuck if I'm a fucking utilitarian, okay? What I'm telling you is that basically there are some things in society that should not be acceptable pretty much no matter what. So one of those things is killing children. I don't give a fuck what fucking statistical analysis you fucking show me that if we sacrifice fucking 8,000 kids to the fucking sun god Amon-Ra, we somehow fucking like, you know, basically decrease fucking every single other fucking crime in society. I don't give a shit. This is where the okay, so yeah, this is an example. So let's say that like we just like kill the children of criminals or something like that as a societal punishment. This is something that we do, and that on a utilitarian basis, we can drop all crime by 100% by whenever somebody commits a moderate crime, a felony, we just kill their kids. I don't care if that's a utilitarian good. It is principally wrong on an individual level. So my utilitarian analysis would be cast out the fucking window because there's a moralistic analysis that goes down to the micro level. No matter how many people we save by killing people or killing kids on an annual basis, it is never morally acceptable. So that's my fucking point, is that basically there are some things that you just don't accept, regardless of
and your distinction here is the nervous system. What an arbitrary threshold to say. 18,
the capacity to feel pain. Do you think that?
What about a future value? I mean, these before 18 months, 18 weeks. Sorry, my bad. Before 18 weeks, they're gonna develop almost certainly nervous systems.
Sure.
And you don't have any sympathy for that future nervous system. Why not?
I do. And I think it's a moral wrong. But at the same time, I'm trying to come up with a prescription for society.
But no, sorry. So I'm interested in your moral outlook. So I'm asking you, as a moral matter, abortion at any time is wrong, correct?
Yeah, if it's viable and if it's not going to hurt the mother.
I didn't say viable at any time.
Okay, I'm saying if it's viable.
So why viability?
Because if a fetus is going to have like a horrific.
Sorry, go ahead. You're cutting out.
If a child is going to have some kind of horrific disease that means that its entire existence is just going to be suffering, I of course am going to evaluate that differently.
I didn't say it like that. I suppose that we have no reason to believe this child is going to suffer from a harm, is going to be a threat to the mother. Why is viability the line the viability of the fetus as it is? I mean, you should be against abortion at any point, right? As a moral matter, it's horrific. It's akin to killing children, right?
Individually, okay. So
we don't hear you.
Okay, I feel like we're talking past each other.
No, I feel like we're getting somewhere.
Individually, I think that is morally incorrect. I think it's bad.
It's akin to child killing, right? It's
akin to squishing a cricket, which I also think is bad.
Are you really going to trivialize the death of a future human with comparisons to crickets?
If it has
you just sat here and told me that
if it has the sentience of a fucking cricket, then yeah.
So you just sat here and told me at 18 weeks that these people would be they don't even deserve prison, and now you're going to say, you know, a couple of weeks before that, or 4 or 5 weeks before that's you before came out and made a very strong statement that past 18 weeks, this
Mhm.
was a horrible, horrible crime in your mind, and morally repugnant, akin to infanticide, were your words.
Yep.
Why wouldn't that also apply to the abortion before 18 weeks?
Because the fetus has no capacity to feel its own.
So you don't so I ask it again. You don't recognize their future potential? The fact that there's some reasoning why their current status is what you care about, as opposed to what they're going to be like in just a matter of weeks. They're going to have a central nervous system, and you're snuffing that out.
Sure. Okay. So let me see if I can explain this by not being short. Okay. So basically, I view under 18. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I took off
You
my.
cut out a bunch. Yeah, it might be you might have a noise gate or something, or it's your internet.
I don't know. Okay. So I'm as close as I can be. Okay. Okay. So what I would say is that I do not think that killing is under circumstances. I couldn't. That's incompatible with my worldview. On top of that, I think that there are some circumstances in which I shouldn't have control over the moral decisions of other people. So while I can have an opinion on what people should and shouldn't do,
I'm asking your opinion. I'm not asking for prescriptions. I'm asking your moral opinion.
Sure. Okay. So what's your question about my moral opinion?
Abortion at any time is akin to infanticide, isn't it? As a moral matter.
Yeah, sure. If you want to divorce moral from prescriptive, sure. Yeah.
Okay. I don't understand here.
Why?
Because a couple moments ago, you just told me that you don't care how much it harms society. You would never prescribe the killing of children, regardless of the consequence. So why isn't your moral disgust, you're akinning abortion at any time to infanticide? Why isn't that driving your prescription, where before you made it very clear that no amount of social consequence or circumstance would change your mind that infanticide should always be illegal?
Okay. Because I think that I have to live in a society where 50% of fucking people just don't agree with me, don't agree with my moral prescription or my moral perspective. So I have to live with these motherfuckers. I have to compromise with them. And if I was to go to war in order to enforce my moral prescription on everybody else, then basically I would cause more harm than allowing what I view as a moral evil to continue. So if there was a compromise settlement where you, who, again, I respect you.
Compromise with infanticide? I thought there was no compromise with infanticide. You appear to say there was no compromise with infanticide, regardless of social circumstances.
So wait, are you literally going to go after a conservative who is willing to make a compromise on their moral beliefs on abortion?
Absolutely.
That is such a fucking thing, because we complain about conservatives not fucking
being
budging.
Consistent.
Okay, let me explain the difference on a pragmatic level. Okay?
Who cares?
Okay. I appreciate you, Samantha, because I also agree. So here's my consensus. Okay, I think that we're all gonna die. I think that's probably true. I think there's worse ways to go than other ways. I think not having a central nervous system basically means you have no capacity for thought, you have no capacity to sense pain, you have no capacity to basically experience your own demise. So as far as the time to check out, that's probably the best time to check out, is when you can't even feel the fact that you're dying. So after 20 weeks, where you have the capacity to feel like you're dying, that's pretty fucked up, because you're basically inflicting
20 or 18.
18 is when the CNS starts forming. 20 would be like my fucking
to be
whatever.
Useful guidelines for future mothers to know, or for future people who are going to be pregnant, when not they're going to be executed by the state, or when you think they should be executed by the state for their transgression.
Not even okay. So basically, I'm telling you my individual perspective, and then you're telling me not to tell you my prescription. So if you want my prescription,
it's nice to know when you think that mothers are akin to. Well, really, you said not mothers, people who are pregnant, who try to abort their pregnant. It's nice to know when you're willing to compromise that they're infanticide mothers or not infanticide.
Sure.
I mean, I would like to know that. I mean, those 2 weeks might not seem like a lot to you, but to get the full sort of moral weight of you calling them infanticide, I'm surprised that you're not out there calling people who have an abortion murders. Why aren't you there with your? You think it's murder as a moral matter. I don't know why you're not in front of abortion centers right now. Wouldn't you do that if there was murder going on all over you in the number of thousands?
No, Pisco. No, I wouldn't. And here's the reason why. Because there's already a whole bunch of other social ills that I prioritize
over the death of children.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed before that like nothing goes before the death of children.
Okay, let me explain this concept because it seems like you're hell bent on attacking me for like before I even explain why I think there's a moral difference between like somebody's capacity to feel and somebody's lack of capacity to feel. All right, so before 18 weeks, I'm not saying it's morally neutral. I think it's morally bad because I do conceptualize the future potential of a human being.
You said it's equivalent to infanticide.
Pisco, do you want me to fucking talk, or do you want
equivalent to infanticide? So not just bad.
Shut up, dude. Shut up, or I'm gonna leave. Because like seriously, like,
okay.
Do you want me to answer your fucking question,
Yeah,
or do you just want to interrupt me?
I don't want you to lie because you said it was akin to infanticide, and so just saying bad, right, is underselling it.
I've got nothing from you now, Connor.
Do you want to hear?
Oh, there it goes. I don't think it's your mic.
What about now?
You're good for the moment.
Okay. So, Pisco, I would appreciate you if you kept quiet for the next 2 minutes while I highlighted the moral difference between killing a child and doing an abortion. Okay? Cool? Can I have like 3 fucking minutes? Okay. All right. So, the reason why it's fucking different under your asshole. Okay. So, the reason why it's different under 18 weeks, the fucking fetus can't feel pain. While I don't agree with that personally, at the same time, I can at least sleep at night knowing that the fetus didn't feel any fucking pain. Okay? 19, 20 weeks, 22 or whatever. It's pretty morally fucked up. I think it's a potential fucking human being. As a matter of fact, I could basically bring on the screen right now fetuses and what they look at 20 weeks. It's a fucking human being. Okay? Just a human being. Go Google that shit right now. You can see miscarried fucking fetuses at 20 weeks. It's a fucking human being. So, the reason why I make a moral difference between 9 months, I would have to do but terminating a 8-month fucking fetus who is viable and healthy is because literally, basically after 22, I think viability is down to 22 at this point, like with all the medical advances that we have. So at that point, if you have a child, if you miscarry a child at 22 weeks, that person can survive and have a happy and healthy and fruitful life. So to rip that thing up with tongs and forceps and scalpels and all that kind of shit, I do think is morally akin to infanticide. So there are extenuating circumstances that I think modify my moral calculation. One of those is if the pregnancy is going to kill the mother, because I don't think that any individual should be forced to carry a pregnancy to term if they know that it's going to kill them individually. That's one of my moral caveats. My second moral caveat is if the child has horrific, defective fucking shit. Basically, they're going to live in pain, misery, they're going to have genetic disorders, they're not going to live a happy and fruitful life. Every single moment of their life is going to be fucking agony. I am okay with an abortion in that circumstance because I don't think we live just to live. I think we live to fucking thrive and experience and enjoy our lives. Okay? So I think those are 2 important moral caveats to my rule. Finally, the reason why I would absolutely make a fucking difference between having an abortion at, I don't know, 18 weeks versus fucking shooting a baby in the fucking head is because I think that at 18 weeks, your capacity, again, the central nervous system is developing, meaning that it is coming into being. I think a child's capacity to sense pain and suffering that is being inflicted by other people is more complex and therefore worth more moral consideration. So I'll leave it there.
None of what you said was availing because essentially
I am fucking sick of me talking for 3 minutes and then you just telling me that I bored the fuck.
No,
don't
I said
tell me why
availing.
Availing? Okay, logically inconsistent. Just respond to what the fuck I said. I don't give a shit if you're fucking jerking off your fucking audience by saying that I'm not like morally.
He doesn't
consistent.
have an audience.
Address what I said. Just address what I said. Okay.
I was saying that none of what you said is helpful to you because I'll explain why. You stated yourself at the beginning that abortion at any time is akin to infanticide. You've now just made some distinctions. that, well, it's different than at 18 weeks because at 18 weeks there's some central nervous whatever, and that's different than at birth because there's even more cognition there. So it sounds as though there's a big spectrum of and nervous awareness is what's driving your decision making here.
True.
However, before you were willing to state that you would not, under any circumstance, no matter what the social circumstance was, ever allow for infanticide. Those were your words. That was what you said. And now, okay, you have different love. You have some infanticide that apparently is morally justified for you. It's less bad than other forms of infanticide, but it seems as though some infanticide, Counterpoints is go ahead. And you're, I guess we're willing to negotiate on infanticide now when you said explicitly we couldn't.
Sure. So this is where this is weird because it feels fucking heavily semantic. You asked me a binary question, I gave you a binary answer. You asked me to expand upon my ideas, and I gave you an expanded answer. So, for instance, infanticide, literally the root of the fucking word is killing kids, right? Killing kids, generally speaking, is a bad thing. I don't like killing kids. I think it's bad. However, if there was a child who, let's use the example again, had a horrific disease. Let's say they had fucking Tay-Sachs or some shit like that. Let's say that the options were continue to operate on them in order to keep them alive in perpetuity, or allow them to fucking be consumed by their disease, or to put them down on fucking painkillers. Because I value the sentience and sensation of like living creatures, and I believe that they're more like morally worthy of consideration, I would say that the ideal situation in there, if a creature is suffering just to exist, would be to put that child down with fucking painkillers.
Why would that matter whether or not it's a born child or a person living? I mean, why wouldn't you want to just kill people who are suffering to live right now? People who are sick. Oh, okay, so you're in favor of, like, it sounds like eugenics at this point, that you're just in favor of.
No, it's not eugenics. No. And also I would like it if you stopped trying to turn me into some fucking villain. I would appreciate it if you just listened to what the fuck I said.
Well, you just said that you'd be sure we could kill people who are living, whether or not they're in utero or not.
Okay. And what do you think the difference between an adult who is constantly suffering and a child who, like,
you tell me.
Amazing. Pisco, how about you? Okay, no, I'm not gonna let. All right, so I'll tell you the fucking difference. The difference is agency. Okay, when a child is under 6 months, 1 year, they do not have the ability choice about whether or not they exist. That is a choice being made by all the adults that are surrounding them. When you're talking about adults, they can make a voluntary choice on whether or not to exist. So there are countries, I believe, like Denmark, Sweden, and the state of Washington, who have come up with basically medical assisted suicide laws. There are people who have physical fucking ailments where they are just existing to suffer. I think that's a moral fucking horror. And as much as I was raised in a Christian society, I do not think shooting yourself in the head because you have anxiety or depression is the same as being assisted by a doctor to end your suffering. So I think that is an important moral caveat to suicide, that people who are in chronic pain or chronic suffering are allowed to make choices about their own existence.
Well, so I'm not sure why we got into this whole exception that you're providing for people who are going to have whatever kind of conditions. My question for you is, it sounds like you're negotiating and making societal exceptions on infanticide, and without what I mean to say is you're negotiating infanticide. You're saying I'm willing to accept some level of infanticide when before you said no, I'm not willing to do that. And so explain that.
Okay, so my prior definition was basically killing kids through intention or negligence. So if a mother has a fucking child, baby, fetus, whatever, the prom dumpster baby example, if a child is born and the mother takes that child and throws it into a fucking dumpster, my personal moral conviction is that person has made such an egregious moral judgment that I no longer want them in my society. Literally, like capital punishment. However,
you said that also of 18 months. Sorry, weeks. What? I keep saying months.
Okay.
You said that also of 18 weeks.
Okay, but I am an individual negotiating my relationship with society. I understand that my opinion is unpopular and most people don't want it. So what I would think a negotiated fucking punishment that I would think is acceptable is that basically it's treated like murder. That's what I would be okay with. And even if they don't get fucking capital punishment, they do catch like 10, 20 years, maybe fucking life.
So if a woman has an abortion at 5 months, you think that they should be treated with intentional abortion, no signs of defect, that should be treated as murder, correct?
Yeah, so healthy mother, healthy fetus.
Yep.
Yeah, at 20 to 22 weeks, I think there should be some for abortion. Yes.
Murder, right?
I don't know. I have to negotiate it with you, and you don't seem to like my idea.
Well, no, I mean, I'm asking what your prescription is now.
Okay, yeah, my prescription. So basically, if a doctor and a citizen know that they have a healthy fetus and a healthy pregnancy, and they terminate it at 20 weeks, I would basically want the doctor's right to practice medicine revoked. I would want them to basically be brought up on some kind of unique charge, performing fucking abortion without fucking, performing an abortion on a healthy fucking fetus or something. I would basically want them to no longer be a doctor, and I would want them to serve jail time, maybe 5 to 10 years. And then same thing with the fucking mother who chose to have the abortion on a healthy pregnancy that had a central nervous system. Yes, I would.
Okay. That's really stupid and immoral and unethical, and I condemn that belief to the most extreme amount, and think that it's kind of incoherent, immoral rambling from someone who isn't.
Okay, Pisco. So hold on. I have questions. No, Ty.
That's
I got
fine.
it.
Let's just not get too vitriolic here, because I don't see this going well.
I won't ask it. I won't impugn Pisco's fucking individual at all. I'll just ask him a question. So at 22 weeks, let's just say the woman miscarries. Fetus is on the table and it's viable. What do you do with it?
You let it live. It's born. It's a person.
Okay, but it's going to need like machines and shit. So what? So is that morally neutral, morally positive, morally bad? What?
I look at broader society for morality. You know this.
Okay, so
I would never analyze your. Whenever you ask me this ethical question, I'm not going to give it to you divorced from the society in which it lives. I'm going to tell you that it's
your
better.
opinion.
So I'm going to tell you that in those cases, it's better to keep that child alive and to have any kind of attempted killing of that child having been born, to keep that immoral. Keep that illegal.
Okay, so what is the difference between a fetus?
You're cutting out.
Okay, what is the difference between a fetus that is miscarried on the table and you have the ability to save machines versus going into the uterus and chopping it up with fucking tools? What's the moral difference?
What's the moral difference?
Sure.
Well, one, as a societal matter, there's more, I think, emotional weight behind a child having been born, and society should vindicate that emotional and sort of sympathetic interest, which may not be based in any sort of objective reality. Frankly, I don't think there's a satisfying definition of when, quote, life starts. So I don't see any bright line for when life starts. So I would appeal to, I think abortion overall is a net benefit to our societies. When that should end, I think one bright line that has functioned for societies in the past 30 years has been at birth. Now, before that, right, when we're getting close to birth, I think there's interesting close calls, but nowhere near what you said, like 5 months or something.
Okay, so let's talk about a close call.
Yeah,
because you're talking about how this is like we have like interesting moral questions about this. So
there's no life definition. You agree with me? There's no such thing as a definition of life that's satisfying to you when life begins as a human, right?
I mean, fucking, I think not for a human, no.
Okay.
I think like we there's single cell fucking organisms that are, trillions of years old that we consider alive, like, and
Right.
here's the other thing that's different about my moral philosophy versus other people's moral philosophy. I do assign moral weight to living creatures of all species. So fucking ducks, birds, snails, lizards, all that shit, they have some level of moral weight. Now, maybe it's a negligible moral, maybe it's something that's not worthy of considering as a human being because you have to look after your species. But at the same time, it is a moral weight. When you consciously and intentionally kill a small creature, you are making a moral choice. And while that choice might be infinitesimally small, it's still a moral choice with moral weight. So, with that in mind, from my perspective, let's say that you have a healthy fetus, healthy mother, and we're literally like a week before delivery. We know it's healthy. We know the mom's healthy. There's no underlying concerns about health concerns for pregnancy. I understand that pregnancy is complicated no matter what. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say we're a week away from delivery and the mother chooses to have an abortion. What do you say?
I think that there absolutely should not be criminal charges or imprisonment for this woman.
So
now, I don't think that, maybe it makes sense to have regulations on when it's okay for doctors to do it, that people can agree with or people can work their lives around, and of course with numerous exceptions in it. But as to suggest, I think, criminal punishment in those cases, no, I wouldn't agree with that.
Okay, so let's just say that you and I were.
You cut out.
Okay, let's say that you and I were operating from the same, and we were trying to identify a way for the situation to occur at its very least amount of frequency, whether legal or illegal. We want this to happen as little as possible.
Abortion?
Not just abortion, but like late term healthy fetus, healthy. Okay, let's say that was the moral wrong that I don't want to cross a line on, and you're just trying to meet me fucking halfway. What consequences do you think would be appropriate for society or doctors or limitations? What do you think would be appropriate measures to make sure that this either doesn't happen or happens as infrequent as possible?
You're saying if my singular moral objective is to limit this from happening?
Yeah, just fucking humor me. What would you want to do besides jail?
I suppose you could get in Gestapo-like secret services and keep track of everyone who has ongoing pregnancies and follow them along at great expense to the state.
That's not what I'm talking
bodyguards, and then shoot any abortion doctor that comes within 8 months.
Okay.
That's our moral goal. I don't know what to say to you.
I don't know why you're posting.
I know I'm not posting. I weigh everything in balance of everything. And so if you're telling me that this is a cognizable ethical interest, it already is a cognizable ethical utilitarian interest. I've already taken into consideration those things. So you're telling me to give it more weight. How much is more weight?
Okay, I'm asking you to just fucking leave. Okay, I know this might be impossible for you, but I'm still gonna ask you anyways, okay? Leave your fucking utilitarian fucking marriage where you just want to fuck utilitarian in the pussy for the rest of your life, and you love it so goddamn much that if like you love utilitarianism so much you would marry it if it became personified as a fucking person. Okay, leave that at the door for a second. Okay, you said that I was morally abhorrent, that I was disgusting, because I thought.
I think your opinion was disgusting.
Okay, I appreciate that caveat because I kind of like you. I think you're a dickhole, but I like you. All right. So basically, my question is: leave your fucking marriage to utilitarianism.
Okay.
What other consequence do you think might reduce this nightmare scenario that to me is a moral horror? Like literally so inconceivably wrong that I would view this the same way if that child was born and somebody stomped on its head. That's the way that I perceive it morally.
If I'm abandoning utilitarianism,
please,
I'm not taking into consideration and balancing and weighing other factors when I'm discussing what the solution should be, and I'm taking as given. I'm walking you through this. What my thought process is. You've presented to me the hypothetical where I share some belief this is an abhorrence that needs to be stopped at any cost. If that is the case, I will stop it at any cost, which means literally tracking every single pregnancy and putting people to accompany these individuals and making sure that they have no way to get an abortion doctor at any time. That's, if you're telling me to abandon balancing of other things that make life worth living, then absolutely I will abandon those other things by virtue of the hypothetical and go to the extreme to prevent these kinds of ended pregnancies at any cost.
Okay, so this is weird to me, and maybe it's because I'm trying to have some external calculation, right? So the reason the external calculations that I'm taking into my calculus is basically that this issue is split almost 50-50 in our society. There are some people who will provide you 0% of the caveats that I did. Okay, they will literally tell you that if there's a genetic disorder, carry it to term. Threat to the mom, carry it to term. Threat to the baby, carry it to term. Doesn't
Kill them both, carry to term. Think about that. There are people who think that the baby's going to die anyway, whether you take it out or whether you give birth to it, and also the mother will die, and they should both die.
God,
you think that's rational? You think we should give any credence to these people and let them influence policy at all?
No. Okay. You were gracious enough to divorce my opinion from my
that
individual morality. Okay, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you were able to say that my opinion was disgusting, but I am individually not disgusting. I appreciate that caveat. So
you're fun, dude, and I think you're a good person. I think that there's, we have these disagreements, and I like having disagreements. I wouldn't be on here for however long, and I have to leave at some point. But this is fun for me, and I appreciate you doing this with me. I don't find a lot of people. I've lost girlfriends because I do this kind of stuff. So like, I appreciate moments spent with people who are willing to go down rabbit holes with me. It's fun for me.
I won't break up with you over this conversation.
Okay.
We can continue our platonic relationship.
Sure.
So all right. So my calculus, just to give you my calculus, okay? My calculus is basically that I share a society with people who view me as morally abhorrent for having this perspective, and I have to negotiate some kind of rational settlement with these people in order to affect policy. Like you said, if you had my moral calculus, you would basically impose your will at any cost. I don't believe in that. Because basically what I think would happen in that society is, one, we would lose freedom, we would lose liberty, freedom of conscience, we would lose a lot of things that I also care about. Also, just because I become dictator for a fucking day, slaughter all these fucking degenerate lefties, and then I'm in charge of society, doesn't mean that I haven't created a worse society. I've actually created a worse society because now I've said that it is morally acceptable when you disagree with somebody on something profound, it is okay to kill them. And I'm not okay fucking jumping that barricade. I live in a liberal democratic society, and I like that liberal democratic society. So what I am saying is you said that you didn't like my individual prescription for pressure to prevent this from happening through incarceration of the doctor and the woman. That's what you said, or the pregnant person. Okay, so that's what you said. What I'm curious about is I have a moral concern that you do not, and by you saying that you don't agree with my pressure, there has to be another kind of pressure that we could apply that would be better. So that's really my question: is do you just so fundamentally disagree with my idea that you think no pressure needs to exist, or can you think of an alternative pressure that I might be interested in advocating for?
Yeah, so let me give you a sense of where I'm coming from and why I don't take very seriously some of the abortion, the value of a quote potential life to the max or to a large amount. I think sperm cells are potential lives. Any moment in time when you're not trying to procreate is a lost potential life. There's every cell you have is potentially a potential life if you change it in a certain way. And so we don't lack for potential life. There's so much potential life. Like everything is a potential life. And I assume that you're not spending all of your time trying to maximize the number of lives that you can produce and trying to maximize everyone's fertility. In fact, a lot of religious institutions are strictly opposed to doing that and to having sex before marriage and those kinds of things. And so
I still feel guilty every time I jerk off, though.
you do?
So. Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Like, it could have been me.
Well, that's what I love George Carlin. Growing up, I'm young, but so I feel weird saying growing up, but not every ejaculation deserves a name, and there's so much potential life, and so it's hard for me to cognize with sincerity, and I don't see a big difference between a zygote that has or a conception and a black. I don't even know that. It shows you how much I paid attention in health class. And like a sperm cell that's about to enter into the fallopian or enter into the uterus, right? So I don't see a difference there between those things. I don't think that there's a moment in which life occurs. Now this can have moral consideration. Okay. And so I don't value this as much as you do. Now, when we start to get closer, I agree that as time progresses, now we've spent enough time, we've used up enough energy that it seems like this is starting to be something that society should value more. So I'll agree with you there. But then I'm also weighing everything else, which you initially, what I had a problem was, you said we shouldn't weigh, which are societal considerations about bodily autonomy. Listen, I don't think that bodily autonomy always wins. I think that we should force people to have vaccines by force. And if they don't do it, we should charge them taxes. And if they don't pay the taxes, they should go to jail, right? So I agree with jail in some respects, and I won't agree with bodily autonomy to the nth degree, but I believe that there's a utility to bodily autonomy, and so I have to weigh that as well. And so since I think I value less your potential life, and because I'm weighing other things more, we come to different results.
100%. And that's why by the way, that's why I don't attack you personally, because I literally think if you ask me what's your intent for all of humanity, it's I want to maximize human well-being and good. That's what I want to do. I have completely different perspectives on what's worthy of moral consideration. Also, as frustrating as this might be for you, I kind of accept that I'm not a perfectly rational actor. Okay. There are some things that I am just emotional about, and I'm just fucking emotional about them. I'm not saying that I shouldn't try to hold myself to a higher standard of objectivity and utilitarian calculus and analysis and all that kind of shit. But at the same time, I do get emotional about some subjects, and sometimes right is right and wrong is wrong. And I understand that that's not perfectly rational. But at the same time, what I would say, this is kind of a weird question. It's a little personal, so just you don't have to indulge me. Yeah. But do you plan on having children in the future?
I don't know. I think at some point, I think I might like to. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the conservative trick in this debate would be well, when you experience it, you'll think different, Sonny. And I'm not going to do that shit to you, right? You're smart. You're smart.
It's not going to work on me because I just told you I can
You're a callous bastard. I get it.
Well, no, any conceived pregnancy is the same as me as any emission I might have, and that's just it. And so I'm not trying to maximize the number of kids I have right now. That to me is the same as my decision if it came to it,
sure,
to have an abortion.
Okay, so
and of course it's not my decision necessarily.
Sure, and I think this is an okay place to end it because I know we have other things to do tonight. But
anyway, policing. Sorry,
yeah. But no, but I love rabbit holes. So, but what I would say though is I am a fucking monkey. I am a hairless monkey on a dirt ball in the void of space, spinning around a superheated giant gas cloud. Ball. None of this makes sense. Okay? Existence itself is fucking absurd. Religion is absurd. Existence is absurd. Love is absurd. Family is absurd. Everything is fucking absurd. Okay? We're all gonna fucking die. And I accept. I don't like that, by the way, but I accept it. And what I would tell you, just for me personally, is my son was maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks along, because we detected it really early. And it was maybe like 5 weeks when we went for an ultrasound because I have like a rare genetic disorder that runs in my family. So we decided to be aggressive about the pregnancy. I saw my son's heartbeat for the first time. He's literally a clump of cells. He's just a clump of cells, but I see his fucking heart, and his heart is just pounding, just like going as hard as it fucking can. And I can see the strength in it. And I'm literally like, I turned to my fucking wife, who actually was having a pregnant. And I basically said, we're going to have like a strong, weird fucking warrior baby. I think that was like an exact quote. and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it doesn't even, like, he doesn't even exist yet. He's just this weird, dumb clump of cells with a fucking heartbeat. I'm freaking out about this fucking pregnancy. I didn't want to be pregnant this early, blah, blah, fucking blah. And now, because of the weird passage of time, you brought up, like, do I consider the passage of time into my moral calculus? The reason why I do is because I fucking blinked, and now I have a weird warrior baby running around my fucking house, screaming and punching me in the fucking nuts, and like fucking throwing Cheerios all over the place, and wrestling my dogs, and fucking being weird, and talking to me about dinosaurs. So you asked me for like a perfect utilitarian calculus or like statistical data and like all that kind of shit. I'll give you as much as I have, but I also won't create shit to try to appease you. I'm giving you what I think, however flawed and fucking stupid that is.
Think about all the little tykes you could have walking around if you just had sex more times and impregnated more people.
I'm making a utilitarian calculus, and I only want, because I value the quality of the relationships, not just the quantity of children I have. So
it's convenient. Why you can't handle two?
I can handle two. Can't handle more. I'm fucking tired already, dude.
Oh, do you have two?
No, but we're going to be working on the second one in a year.
Oh.
Yeah, dude,
so you're an interested party here. You want your clump of cells to have moral consideration, don't you?
True.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to like shit talk me and encourage me to have three, then your ass needs to come down here. Because I am fucking tired, dude. I am so fucking tired. I do not have time.
Are you asking? Never mind. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. You can be my godfather as long as you don't infanticide. All right, so like
Okay.
just don't fucking infanticide him. I know you're like a big fan of it and shit, but like don't.
Wow, don't get me started.
Wow.
Here. All right, this was Tiberius. I just want to say, there are a few like, and I know Samantha actually brought up, I think first of all, I think she had a better argument than I did on one of them, or at least was able to present something better than me. And so I wish you were here so I could say it to her. But I had a lot of fun talking with Connor. And Tiberius, to hear your little laughs in between. This was a great time, and we should do it again sometime. Unfortunately, I'm going to be like very busy in the next couple weeks for finals, but
I understand.
yeah.
I want to break this.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, bud.
Actually, if you guys want to do your outros real quick, or I can do like my breakdown of just like what happened, because I want to comment on
Do your
a few
breakdown.
things. Okay.
Yeah.
I like you both, and like it's very interesting because me and both of you have talked a lot, right? You guys are good friends. You guys are good folks. I love Connor because there's so many times where he says something or he presents things in a way that I like. It just feels right. Like he says it in the way that I'm just like, I'm on him on his wavelength 100 times. And I really wanted to see this conversation because Pisco, you argue like I do. Is that you have this way of presenting things in a particular way and saying, all right, cool, let's establish the base point here. We'll move from here to here to here to here. I love having conversations and arguments with you because, like, I get your wavelength and how you argue. And so it's like, literally, my morality is Connor's, my argumentation is Pisco's, and then I got to see that, do that, and it's not in my own head. So, this was an absolute...
fun. It's fun, but it's fucking infuriating.
You and everyone, yeah, I understand.
Like, for real, like, this might be why I have bipolar disorder, but we'll figure it out later. Just bringing this full cap, this was, at points, I was just like, oh god, but this was a very enjoyable experience for me, personally, because there was very few parts of this that I thought wasn't worthwhile. When we hit abortion, I was like, oh shit. But after that first 15 minutes of getting through the slog, you guys came to like an even ground, and you started having the realest conversation I think Twitch politics may have ever had. I loved the last 30 minutes. It was fan-fucking-tastic. I got to do some editing work now because we have an abortion conversation, but that was actually the best part of that whole conversation, even though it was sub-related. because you guys had to have the real conversation about having a moral axiom talk, and that's the fucking hardest thing you can do as a human being, because we don't share the same axioms at all. So
I thought we did. But,
I used to think we did too, and like that was the thing that Twitch politics actually convinced me of, is that people do not have the same moral axioms at all.
Yeah, I am. And really quickly, I'm just probably the world's like shittiest. Like that. That's probably what's going on. I'm like, I think that everything should be good for everybody to a maximum degree, except for here's a moral hiccup that I
Unless
won't
it doesn't.
compromise on. Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm probably the world's shittiest utilitarian.
hey, to be fair, I can't even define utility, so you know.
So anyway, this was a long conversation. We're at almost 3 hours. I got to split it up about that 2 hour mark for the policing panel, which I think I'm gonna actually just relabel it. It's the criminalization or the legalization of drugs.
Legalization, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, I would love to revisit this again. We can talk about just the police interactions.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Pisco.
Let's outline a little bit more aggressively so Pisco and I don't end up in fucking rabbit hole, because he'll fucking take me into them and I'll follow him right in there. Yeah, let's fucking go. Like, let's do that. Let's go in there.
That's his specialty. Like, Pisco will drag you in the rabbit holes to see where your lines are. Like, that's how he argues, which is how I argue. Which I need to drill you on this a little bit, Connor.
You're both bastards.
All right,
yes.
squad. This was a lot of fun. I'm gonna take my leave. See you guys later, Connor.
Do your,
no hard feelings.
Yeah.
Outro?
Do your outro. Yeah.
Oh, Pisco95, twitch.tv/Pisco95. Thank you. Talk usually about like law-related stuff. That's why there are a lot of little lawyer nudges. I'm a third-year law student, and yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Catch you, bud.
Thank you for being here, Pisco. Pisco is a third-year law student and a good friend of ours. He is absolutely a wonderful gentleman and one of my favorite people to talk to on this platform. I have some disagreements with him, as do I with many other people, but if he's literally in the top 5, so definitely go check him out if you are watching this on YouTube or if you are still here in the Twitch chat. I appreciate that. Samantha's been gone for a quick minute, but she is the producer for the show. We absolutely appreciate her for doing that. You can catch me, her, and Connor out on Sundays, which used to be the Right Wing Panel. It's now going to be the Mask Off Podcast, where we talk about stuff like this, but just amongst ourselves and maybe a couple other guests. Moving on, the next person is obviously Connor, which you just got 3 full hours of high-quality Connor content, which I always enjoy. Connor is a former Marine and former cop, and he's like a brother from another mother for me. He's a great friend, a great person to have here, and I always enjoy being with him. Connor, you have your shout out. Go ahead and do it, man.
Yeah, so my name is Connor. I run a YouTube. I identify as some of that fucking center right fucking.
You're cutting out really bad.
It's okay.
Hey, one quick thing, because somebody mentioned it real quick. Turn your mic 180 degrees in any given direction, because if that's a directional mic, you might literally be talking to the wrong side.
What about now?
Right now, it sounds perfect. Keep going.
I mean, that's 180 degrees.
Okay, yeah. It definitely sounds like you're talking to the wrong side, though. But
okay. But
do the whole thing for a second. I want to see what happens.
Okay. So my name is Connor. I run a YouTube channel named I am a former Marine and I guess a center-right asshole. I hope I've earned some of my center-right credentials today, considering that I was one of the few people on Twitch who was probably willing to bite a centrist, anti-abortion position. And that's pretty much it. It's like, I don't like running away from a fucking fight. I think Pisco is whip smart and a pain in my fucking nutsack. So if he's still watching or listening, or if anybody else is watching or listening, I know I got heated, but I do respect him as an intellect. He's a smart, cruel, argumentative motherfucker, and I respect that.
All right. So while you are lower on that one, I need to get you hooked up with Osiris just so we can drill this real quick, because you cut out once at the very beginning and the rest we heard completely. So awesome. I think you have a gain control problem. Actually. So anyway, we are at 3 hours. So that has been the Mask Off with Tiberius D, Counterpoints, and Samantha Banana. We had Pisco as our wonderful guest this evening. It has been an absolute pleasure. I have to do some editing, damn. But it was absolutely worth it. We appreciate it. Catch us out on Sundays and Fridays. Although Connor's not here every Friday, or at least we'll have to talk about that one. But it's been interesting. It's been fun. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.